Hey man, did you hear about Elon? He left California for Texas.
Good. Get out of California.
Yeah,
That's
go
awesome.
Texas. Yeah. Well, yeah, we got a lot of topics to cover, buddy. What are we doing today?
You guys buckle up. We got a good one today. We're about to get into this right here. Yeah, we're going to get into toxic masculinity.
Oh. He's got nice little rings there.
Yeah. And I love his smug expression and the little tilt.
Yeah, it is kind of
He's
weird.
like, I think I'm better than you.
So,
Yeah. Because I'm in a dress.
right. So if you were to wear this to high school as a senior, what do you think would happen to you?
Oh, I'd be bullied so much for
Really?
that. They'd never let me live that down, being especially on the football team.
I think
No way.
I think most young men would, which is why they don't, which is why it's weird to me that we're trying to normalize that. Now, if he had like an AK-47 under there, maybe a sawed-off shotgun back there.
That'd be cool.
There's some utility to that if you're going to wear it for that reason. But
Well, same thing with fanny packs. I used to make fun of them until I realized, hey, a lot of people carry their firearms in fanny packs. No more making fun of
firearms
those.
and chapstick,
Right.
Well, I think that's the whole crux of this episode is this, to me, this is toxic masculinity. That's gross. I don't want to see men who are trying to be effeminate and not embrace their masculinity.
Yeah, that's not normal
It's
at
not.
all.
We shouldn't normalize that. Not at all.
And there's cross-dressers, and throughout history, we know that.
Great.
If you're into that,
Have fun.
knock yourself out. Who cares?
Yes.
You know, but
have fun.
don't try to tell me that's normal with a straight face.
But they're
Please.
also not trying to be masculine when you're cross-dressing.
This is very true. That is something. Yeah, it's a good point. This whole notion of toxic masculinity started growing in 1980s in America in the poetic circles, and then it really grew into the 2000s, and then eventually later into 2010. Now it just became so widespread that these are the same people that even complain that we spread our legs apart on the subway a few
Man-spreading.
inches. These are the same people who complain about that type of thing. You know?
There's a law, I guess, in maybe New York, I want to say, that is against man-spreading. You can't do that.
Are
on
you
the subway.
serious?
There's a law
Are you
about that.
serious? You're for real?
Or
We're going to have to look
you
that
can
up.
you can forfeit. You have to forfeit your seat or something. I've heard ridiculous things like that.
Wow. Well, I was doing some research into it, and we were looking at what the opposing side believes, and just because it's important to know what both sides of a coin say, and so I said, well, let's take this one step further. Is it in a dictionary or in the online dictionary? Well, it certainly is. And it's
course it would
defined. It's a noun. It's defined as a cultural concept of manliness that glorifies stoicism, strength, virility, and dominance, and that is socially maladaptive or harmful to mental health. So strength is apparently not all that great. Virility, dominance. And in some cases, they say self-sufficiency. That's bad. Why? Why are these bad things?
Being able to rely on yourself is bad. How?
Apparently not, I guess to them, not being emotional enough. Which, I don't know about you, I've never felt like I've never needed to embrace emotion. I've cried many times. I think it's good to cry. I've cried out in public before.
Don't keep that
I
brought
caught my
in.
ice cream the
Yeah.
other day and I cried.
No, it happens.
Yeah.
So, actually, going back to what you guys said about is man spreading illegal, I did find an article that does say that two Latino men were allegedly arrested for man spreading on a subway, on a New York City subway. So
New
they
York-
whoa. When
New
is
York
this?
City.
When
Yeah,
is
we'll
this?
Leave it to New York City, of
this
course.
was about 5 years ago, May 30th, 2015. An article was posted about it, which I never heard that before. This is the first time. This is absolutely crazy, and I had to tell you about that. So.
Oh man, that's crazy.
An example of toxic masculinity.
But that's the whole thing. We agree that toxic masculinity is real, but I think we have a different definition. No,
And
I
a
don't
different
I don't
perspective.
think we know. We know that what we believe is toxic is really toxic. That being one of them, where we just become more effeminate. I'm not against embracing emotions, but
It's okay to talk about emotions.
it is okay, but to make them your sole source of thinking and whatnot, it's that the emotions are fickle, and so I don't rely on my emotions to make decisions. That's what my brain is for, and that's what men tend to do. We're more of thinkers. females are more emotionally driven. They're interested in people. Men are interested in things. That doesn't mean that there's no female engineers. That doesn't mean that there's no male teachers or male nurses. It's just generally, when you look at colleges, the majority of females pick careers that are involved with people. Men tend to be picking careers involving things, and that's okay.
And interest too. It's okay to select things that you're interested in and pursue that as a career. I don't see the problem in that. If a man wants to become a nurse, or any of these specific things.
I have a friend who's a nurse. Yeah. He loves it. He's
great at his job.
Absolutely. Have fun. It's great.
His master's degree in nursing, so hey, go for it, man.
It's good money.
Absolutely.
It's excellent money. But to change now what's innately unique to us men and decry it as evil and bad, that's where we have the issue.
And I think over-competitiveness was one of them.
Why is that bad?
If you take that aspect away, it would make sports suck completely. And you guys don't like sports.
What would be the point of playing a football game if there's no sense of competition?
Well, it's kind of going along with what today, a lot of people, we don't keep score for our kids' games. Bullcrap. All you parents, you guys are keeping score. And at the end of the day, you're going to let your kid know exactly how well your team did. What do you mean? If I had a kid in that type of little league or whatever, I'd be, no, you're not doing this. There are winners and losers in life, and you're going to either train hard to be a winner, or if you're a loser, that's fine. That should ignite you to train more, to be better.
That infuriating concept, we definitely need to get into that. The trophies for 12th place.
Oh, that's coming down the pipe. Oh, that's coming down the. Shelf it for later, man. Yes. That's coming down the pipe.
That's a whole episode right there.
Oh my gosh, yes. The over competitiveness. Men are competitive. They're naturally geared towards competition, beating another person in some kind of game or
or in business, which is what elevates our
yes.
nation, because thank God for competitiveness and capitalism, which creates better products, more innovations, more markets, more opportunities. These are good things. I'm not willing to blanket statement all men in society and say, you're toxic because of this, 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 and that. Ultimately, it's weak people who decry those as strong. And weak people don't like strong people. Only strong people like strong people. So...
And they change definitions and words to, bolster their argument.
Well, that's a progressive tactic. Control the language, control the argument. And so that's what I think we see and we're kind of fed up with, because I love the amazing uniqueness of what men bring to the table, as well as the amazing uniqueness of what women bring to the table, and the fact that we complement each other so well. And this is why Western civilization is so successful. But let's just get rid of that.
Get rid of all of it. Masculinity is garbage. It's toxic to them completely across the board.
Well, are there elements of masculinity that could be bad? Of course. Absolutely. Do men rape and murder and have war? Yes, absolutely. But let me tell you right now, if you're willing to castrate all of Western civilization and be more emotionally driven, well, if that was the same type of mentality that we had in 1940,
we'd be speaking German today.
Or Japanese. Who knows?
The good men wouldn't be there to fight off these evil men with these toxic aspects of their personality, of how they live.
Ultimately, it's a style of behavior. Masculinity it's a style of behavior, not a code of conduct. It's not something that you or I went to school and they say, this is what masculinity is. I bet you there's teachers or your father or multiple people that poured into your life to show, hey, this is what it means to be a good man, which is important.
To be a man.
To be a man, a good man. We have to teach our young men to hone their masculinity, because when left unchecked and not properly honed, that's when you have them committing rapes and murders or mass shootings. Look at a lot of mass shooters. They're always lonely. They're deprived of responsibilities. They're just going nowhere in life. It's because they don't have those things that are pushing them to be better. So what do? They use their anger and they direct it towards society.
And resentment, and direct it towards people.
Society is kind of painted the picture of men as being this steroid raging guy who's just this testosterone factory of just masculine anger, and it's not the case.
It's a caricature.
It is
of men.
And a lot of times they might say, oh, and they glorify how much sex they can have and everything. And that's a different discussion to where I don't believe that sexual activity is a good thing, because I think that destroys sexual intimacy, which is important for marriage. So I don't necessarily, as some may say, masculinity is having as much sex as you can. I disagree with that, just because you should have intimacy for when you're married. And I think that's very important. It helps the glue of marriage. So that's just my side thought on the whole thing of sex.
That's an interesting thing I'd like to get into later down the line with you.
Intimacy versus activity. That'd be a good episode.
Oh, yeah.
What it leads
Write that one
to.
down.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I'm gonna shelf that for later. So that's the whole thing of it is I don't know why we are going to totally make the most men in America effeminate, to be passive, to not bear the responsibility, to be the protector. Why? Why are we doing this? What? It blows my mind.
Yes, and you talked about with those shootings that, those men, those lonely men, they were out, they felt depraved and they resented society. They went out and committed these heinous acts. But what about the men, you told me this, that were putting their bodies on the line, sacrificing, moving up a pool table in the California shooting
Thousand Oaks.
and the Thousand Oaks shooting.
That was about 2 years ago.
To protect the women and the people that were in danger that couldn't help themselves. They were putting their bodies in the line. Is that toxic?
It's gonna take some pretty masculine men to move a pool table to protect people. Them jokers are heavy.
They're ridiculously heavy.
I moved them to a flight of stairs and I about killed myself.
I've slept on top of one before.
Fun facts.
Very, very,
Learning things today.
very uncomfortable.
I don't see that as toxic, because that 28-year-old who threw 2 smoke grenades in the bar that he was often a patron at, and he just went with an extended magazine into a firearm and just started unloading, just committing wanton violence. That's evil. That's not toxic. That's evil. We'll call it what it is.
I agree. 100%.
And he was living at home with his mom, didn't have much responsibility, couldn't find the meaning in his life. And unfortunately, he brought that, and it manifested itself into a mass shooting. And we don't mention mass shooters' names in this. We don't want to glorify anybody like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
And the same thing happened with Aurora, that
where they covered
men
over
and-
their wives and their girlfriends,
yes,
became
in the movie
essentially
theater.
bullet sponges for their loved ones.
In 2012, and during the Dark Knight Rises premiere, that happened. And
That just goes to show you that it's men's nature to protect.
It is.
It's not toxic.
It's not. When it's not properly honed, then we see things that could manifest itself into evil nature.
Right.
I'm not saying toxic, evil nature, because ultimately we'll talk about what we think is toxic at the very end. It's evil nature that is not checked, and that's why we need good men to teach other young men.
And those men in those shootings, they showed how much they love women, and men love women.
Yes, they do. That's why, as they put them underneath in California, they put them underneath the pool table and they all linked arms together. I mean, I don't know how much this got reported on the news, probably not a whole lot, but they linked arms and their backs against the shooter, waiting for a bullet. I mean, you can say you would do that in the moment, but you really don't know until you're there, and that's courage, man.
That takes true courage to perform that act.
And I think that, for me, masculinity, that, if I could define it in one word, it's courage. To have the strength to do what is right, to live by a moral code of protecting not only yourself but your loved ones and your community, and if need be, your country.
Yes.
And so
Examples and across history, World War II, all those men that went to the Pacific Islands and into Germany and to France.
Normandy.
Oh my gosh. On
yes.
D-Day.
Talk about courage. Oh my gosh.
And we've all probably seen Saving Private Ryan and how that just grotesque depiction of that, very realistic. Imagine going into that with with all the men next to you, how scared you would be, but you have to keep pushing through, using your strength of your mind as well, not just your physical strength, which men obviously have more than women. That's why we send them off to war.
we have this cheat code called testosterone. I'm a huge
Yes.
fan of it. It's great. It's awesome. But that's also what makes us more aggressive. Yes, it leads to more homicides, because that's why we make up the majority of murderers in prisons and jails. That is true. However, the recidivism rate for those individuals is less than 29%, meaning the majority of those criminals are repeat offenders. So it's not right to blanket statement society and say that's toxic, you all need to change. You want to go ahead and castrate all of our men, you won't have aggressive behavior to fight evil men when they come knocking on your door. So be very careful what you're asking for. So that's what I'm saying. It's a style of behavior. It's not something that we are just born with and we understand and we know. It has to be taught to us by good men. And it's not right to just chastise the majority for a few.
And it needs to be directed the proper way with the strength, the competitiveness, all this aggressive nature of men and boys and young boys. Yeah, it makes me think of the Gillette commercial. The boys will be boys. They're all standing there in that line, and these excessive amount of grills, the charcoal grills, all the the toxic smoke going up in their face.
Yeah,
that's what's toxic.
Yes, about that commercial.
And we've heard Dr. Jordan Peterson has said that it's okay for boys to get into fights and rough and tumble play. It's necessary. It's part of growing up is learning to deal with fighting others and just
knowing boundaries, when to stop, when it becomes
not get too aggressive,
right,
where you're hurting somebody or injuring somebody beyond repair, and you need to learn that at a young age.
It's also good to know when to call it quits, because you start picking fights with someone who's a little bit bigger than you. You got to learn those lessons the hard way sometimes.
You need to learn how to stay in your lane.
You know what?
Absolutely.
What drives me nuts about that Gillette commercial, and this pretty much goes for the majority of society, is it always shows the men as schlubs. It's like, those stupid guys. Look at them just standing there like idiots. I mean, seriously, what show can you watch where the dad's not a friggin' idiot? Literally.
Oh,
they're all predicted as, oh my gosh,
Homer
Dad, you're
Simpson.
an idiot.
Peter Griffin and Family Guy.
Ray Romano, the guy from Malcolm in the Middle. They're all idiot schlubs who are dummy dum-dums. The kids are smarter than dad. Why? Why are we portraying our men this way? Is this what kind of men you want? Incompetent men? Passive men who don't bear responsibility? Who don't stand up for what's right? Who aren't willing to protect their family or work long hours?
Women aren't attracted to that at all.
They're not. A lot of people may think that, but most women do not want that in a man.
No.
And so
you don't want weak-willed people. You don't want some in an emergency. You're not going to go to someone that's crying in the street, and they're being hysterical and just in tears and oh my God, please help me. And
wait, you forgot he was wearing a romper.
Yeah,
It's a romp hem.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was wearing a romp hem.
Yeah.
and no one's going to go to that person like that's the person I'm going to use to help me in this emergency fight off this attacker. No one's going to do that.
Right. Can you imagine if we start doing this to our military? So, no, oh my gosh, no. Say, hey guys, you make them go through this stupid training of toxic masculinity to say, you guys need to be listening to more of your emotions, and you guys need to tone down the competitiveness. Can you imagine Navy SEALs in combat? And it's just in the middle of combat, and one's just like, all right, guys, I gotta go cuddle in my whoopee. I gotta get my MRE and eat some Skittles and just think about things.
Sorry,
Feel things.
We're being too aggressive in this offensive right now. We need to back off, please.
We don't want to be coming across as winners, so we should probably let them kill a few of us, and then we'll fight back, and maybe we'll win. And if we don't, then we're still winners at the end of the day.
Participation trophy.
Yes, even the playing field.
Yeah, it's asinine, and so that's why when I see as somebody who works around young men, I love to be around them to try to teach them what a man is. Leadership by example as well, saying we have to respect women, we have to work hard, we are responsible, we make hard decisions, we stand up for what we believe in. All these things of what make men great, a lot of people just want to get rid of, and I disagree.
Blanket statement, just get rid of it. I like that you said respect women. As I said earlier, men love women. We both love women very much. We respect them. We cherish them. We don't want women a harm to befall any woman ever. We want to take care of them, and they want to say being aggressive and defending them is wrong. How is that wrong?
To me, that's where I think ultimately toxic masculinity is the very things that they want us to be. That's toxic. That's toxic. It's not evil. It's just toxic. You want passive boys. Boys, not men. Ultimately. Because you can be 40 years old and be a boy. You can be 50 years old and be a boy. It's ultimately when you want to grow up, when you want to bear the responsibility.
Take charge.
Take charge. And you're never going to be dealt a good hand in life. Not everybody comes from the same background, but it's up to you to make a decision. And it's never too late. You can start tomorrow. Start right now to be a better individual. And so, have we seen this before in history? People being demonized. Have we seen that before?
There was a period in the 1940s, started with a H, ends with a Ost.
The Holocaust.
Holocaust.
That'll probably be clipped, and these guys are idiots. I only call it the Holocaust because I've seen somebody call it that before. We know what it is. We know what the Holocaust is.
Yes, we do. That's where an entire country decided to scapegoat a group of people, and you really blamed them since World War One, and then it just kept steadily increasing until they decided they wanted to exterminate them. So
Similar to the kulaks in Russia.
Yep.
Stalin got all the working peasants and say, you know why you guys are in such terrible positions? It's because they have everything that you should have. And eventually that led to the Holodomor, which if you don't know what the Holodomor is, look it up. I don't know why. It always boggles my mind that growing up in public schools, we always knew what the Holocaust was. But why did we never learn about the Great Purge? Why did we never learn about the Holodomor? Why didn't we learn about all these different mass extinctions of people? It's only the Holocaust we tend to only focus on, which I'm fine with for the Holocaust.
it needs to be learned, of course.
I want to learn all of it. I want to learn all of it, but we don't. We only focus on the one.
Suspiciously because it's the Soviet Union, and that's a whole nother discussion in the future of how that history is taught.
Oh man, jeez. So if we continue down this path and we're labeling for the next 20 years all young men as toxic and trying to change them in schools and medicate them just because they're not just like the females where they sit down and they're not. I see it a lot of times. Like, oh, we'll medicate you because you can't sit down for 7 hours. I'm like, they're a young man. Let them sit on a medicine ball. They'll be good. Bounce around.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If you keep taking that to its logical conclusion, then we're going to be living under tyranny in 20 years.
Why is that?
The good men will be gone because the bad men that are out there that are more aggressive, that are the actual toxic men that you're talking about, these radical feminists and leftists, then they're going to come in, sweep in, and destroy us. We don't want that to happen. We need to teach our men to be good, direct them in the appropriate manner with their aggression and their strength. And all these characteristics they label as toxic, we think they're positive, and we need to keep pushing those and saying it's okay, boys, to be boys.
Right, and it's so important that we just guide them along that path and show them what it is to be a man and have honor and to live by your word and to keep what keep everything that you say, to do it, to live by your moral code. A lot of times when I'm with the young men, we'll be working out and I'll say, in the movies, the superheroes, we're the good guys. We're the ones who are going to fight like no tomorrow to protect our friends, our family, our loved ones, our girls, whatever. We have to be that good. We have to be those good guys. And I think every young man kind of looks at different Marvel heroes or DC heroes and say, we all kind of want to be that, right?
Yes, we want to be like those heroes, like the Supermans, the Batman, but don't be like Homelander, please. Please don't be like him and the boys.
And unfortunately, there are a few people who probably do want to be the bad guys, but that's why we need masculine men to stand up and be the answer to these evil men who will be stronger if we are going to completely make our society effeminate, and they will, like you said, they'll dominate us. And so that's very important that to correct the course, we have to stop demonizing young men. We got to start encouraging them. Just encourage them, because that's partly what they need. Encourage them and guide them and
teach them to do the right thing and be there, as we talked about last week. fathers need to be there.
Be there and guide them and make America masculine again.
Again, yes.
That's awesome.
That's a good war chant.
Yeah, we can end this episode. Well, thank you very much for watching, getting to this point. Like, share, subscribe, and I think it's very appropriate that we end in a very toxic masculine way.
How's that? Oh, strong. Oh, strength.
Oh, strength. Strong man.
And then competitiveness.
Arm wrestle.
Arm wrestle.
Flip the table.
I do want to arm wrestle you though. I do want to arm wrestle him. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But hey,
We'll let you know how that goes.
thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week.
See you next week.